I'm interested. I heard the word fracking about this. What is fracking? And that's why I came here to do this documentary.
The strict definition of hydraulic fracking or fractionation is the exertion of pressure through a hydraulic system to rupture or fracture the formation that's in place underground. This usually is about 3 times the, I say, hydraulic head pressure of any particular well. So if a well is, say, 5,000 feet deep, you would have a normal pressure there of around 2,000 pounds per square inch. Fracking has to exceed that in order to basically lift up and break the formation. This requires anywhere from 2.5 to 3 times the hydraulic pressure. So if it's 2,000 psi hydraulic, that is waterhead, they would then have to exert at least 5,000 to 6,000 psi in order to get the formation to rupture.
You're not the only scientist who's looked into fracking. Is there any agreement or any thought about?
Yeah, in fact, last week there was a meeting in Houston, Texas, basically about fracking, and it was an industrial-wide conference. And one of the people from Stanford University, he made a point, full disclosure, what's going on. And he also said, be careful when you're fracking in a major fault zone. Because he's from California. People back east and in the central United States really don't worry too much about faults. But here in California, most of the oil is actually associated with faults, fractures, and might say structural traps. Whereas back east, it's more layer cake or what they call stratigraphic traps. So we have a problem here that a lot of other fields don't have, and that we have abandoned wells that we don't know where they're at. We have a lot of fault fractures. Fault fractures, by definition, are zones of weakness. So if you're going to exert 5,000 to 6,000 psi in one location, it may not stay there, and it will find a path or a migration route of the least resistance. And that often is an abandoned well that's poorly abandoned, a fault zone, which nobody thinks about. Good example of a fault zone is the La Brea tar pits at Fairfax and Wilshire Boulevard. So if it can go to the surface there, it can go to the surface many other places.